Welcome to the Recluse's Cookbook. I'm your host, Vinnie McHale. The Recluse's Cookbook is a monthly podcast where I, your humble recluse, engage in one-on-one conversations with persons of substance. People who may not get the column inches in the media, but their work or life's events are remarkable.
Dave Byrne is an icon in the Irish filmmaking community. His Underground Film Festival is now the stuff of international legend. 12 years ago to the day of its first screening, we sat down for a pre-recorded conversation about the history and its relevance in the independent film circle in Ireland. Over the course of the episode, Dave speaks about how a simple question to a late arriving actor sparked the idea for the film festival. Dave also elaborates on the changes that have happened in the Irish filmmaking scene over the past 30 years or so. We also discuss some of the filmmakers who got their first break at the Underground Film Festival, but who have now gone on to have their latest projects realised in the mainstream. I also ask, where does he get his energy from? Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, I give you Dave Byrne.
Between the Underground Film Festival and your outdoor cinema screenings, what is the best way to describe what it is that you do?
We showcase Irish and international independent film, and we have been doing that for the past 12 years. So I suppose you need to just go back to when we all started and how the idea came about. So I was heavily involved with theatre. I first started working on stage as an amateur actor in 1985 in school. I joined a local drama group, and I worked with a local drama group in Dún Laoghaire for about six years up until 1991. And then I turned professional. We set up our own theatre company then. So it was with a small group called the Dún Laoghaire Piros in Dún Laoghaire, and it was a fantastic organisation. There was an awful lot of children growing up in Dún Laoghaire back then. It's not so much now because people have moved away, but there were hundreds and hundreds of kids in Dún Laoghaire. So we used to do a pantomime with 100 kids in it every Christmas. Now I went to a Christian Brother school. It was an all-boys school, so it was a good spot to meet girls. So I absolutely loved it. So I did it for about 6 years, and I was getting more sort of heavily involved in it. So we set up a professional theatre company in Dún Laoghaire called the Blue Moon Theatre Company, and our very first show was a show called Willie Russell's Stags and Hens.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and we did that in the Kingston Hotel in Dún Laoghaire. So we started to rattle off the plays pretty fast. Then we were sort of Wee's Nest, Hatchet, Charlie's Aunt, and then we started touring the plays. So we start going into town, into Andrews Lane, and then we bring it down to Cork, down to the Cat Club in Cork, and eventually when the Pavilion opened in Dún Laoghaire, we started working in there. We brought the plays over to the UK, over to Wales. So right up until I was directing a show called Judgment at Nuremberg. It was the Irish premiere of it. Yeah. It had never been done before in Ireland at the Pavilion Theatre. And as I said, it was a really big cast. So sometimes when you'd have a rehearsal, somebody would be late down to the rehearsal. And I'd ask the reason why they were late down to the rehearsal. And they told me, well, at the moment I'm working on a short film. And they'd go through the storyline of the film with me, and I used to say, God, that sounds fantastic. When are we going to get to see this film? And the answer was, in the main, always the same. Well, if it gets selected for Galway, maybe you might get to see it, or forget. And I was thinking to myself, God, the chances of not seeing this, we may not be able to see this film. There's so much work gone into it. So I got home after that rehearsal, and it was about 1 o'clock in the morning. And I woke up my partner to tell her, listen, tomorrow I'm going out to buy a projector. I'm going to make a big screen, and we're going to start showcasing the independent Irish film in the Kingston Hotel. And I'm going to do it every month. And she said, all right, and went back to sleep. And I did it. I bought a cheap projector, and I made a screen. My brother was a set designer, so we were able to build a big screen, and we set it up in the Kingston Hotel, and we didn't know where to start. how to get the word out. But Facebook had just sort of really started, kicked off back then. So we set up a Facebook page and we began advertising on Facebook to see, would you like to submit your short films to us? And actually back then the idea really was, when we first started, the idea was to showcase the films, but also what we were going to do was we were going to bring our actors down to the Kingston Hotel, and we were going to explain that, if you're looking for actors, our theatre company have actors available. If you need sets to be built, we have the experience that we can actually build the sets, and we have an awful lot of sets that we have. And that was sort of the idea for us back then. So it was to showcase the films and then show off the talent that we had. But it slowly took off. We were giving free popcorn to everybody down in the hotel, and it started to take off, and it became a very big networking night. So people were meeting down there. We used to do Q&As afterwards about the films, and then afterwards everybody would head into the bar, and people would start talking, and all of a sudden you had collaborations.
Yeah.
So a director would meet a director of photography down there, or a sound guy down there, and all of a sudden they'd start talking, and you'd see a lot of work being created by some of the events that we had in Dunleary as a result of the networking that was going on. We did, as I said, we did that on a monthly basis, and at the end of our season, which was usually about 10 months, we would screen probably about 150 films over those 10 months. So we put together a panel of judges to have a look through those films, and there was no award ceremony in Ireland. Obviously you've got the IFTAs, but that's for all the bigger stuff, but there was no award ceremony in Ireland to recognise the art of short filmmaking. So what we did was we created the Underground Cinema Awards. The very first one was up in Fitzpatrick's Hotel in Killiney, and the idea was very similar to the IFTAs, just for short films and on a smaller scale. So we got a panel of judges that went through those films, and they selected who they felt should be nominated for an award. So we hosted the first awards in Fitzpatrick's Hotel in Killiney. We had a full house for it, and it was just so successful. We carried on, and we've been doing it ever since. We're non-stop. We only take a break for about two months, and we were sort of counting up the films there. We reckon we screened over 3,500 films over the past 12 years.
Wow.
Now, we felt an awful lot of those films would have ended up in a drawer in somebody's bedroom, never screened. So we were delighted to showcase them. And back in those early days, we used to do a road show, so we used to take them on tour. So we used to bring them down to, we made a contact in Fermoy in a cinema down there, and the guys were really friendly down there, and they allowed us to screen the films down in that cinema down there. So we used to bring them down to Cork, and we used to bring them to London. We made a connection in the centre in Camden, and they allowed us to screen the films in there. And we got talking to the director of that organisation, and he put us in touch with a guy in Bermondsey in London who owned a cinema called Shortwave Cinema. And this guy had a sort of an Irish background. His family were Irish. So it was a small little independent cinema. So he loved the idea. He gave us the cinema, and we used to showcase the films there. And the idea to do it in London, the reason why we were doing it in London was we wanted to give the filmmakers the opportunity to come over to London with us to see the work over there, but also to invite any sort of sales agents to see the films in London. Because you'd have a much better chance of maybe selling the film over in London than you would in Ireland at that particular time. And we always went over the same time, St. Patrick's Day. We did it for St. Patrick's Day. So that was really successful. We did that for about 3 or 4 years. But then we stayed on the sideline in Ireland and just continued promoting the films. But we also We also run the annual International Film Festival, and that's not, a lot of people do get confused with what we do at Underground Cinema with the monthly screenings. We also decided to do an annual international film festival, a competitive film festival. So we do that once a year, every September, in the Royal Marine Hotel in Dunleary. So the monthly screenings are all short films. The International Film Festival is everything. They're features, and they're short films, and they're documentaries. So we started doing that every September, and each festival we would screen roughly around 100 films at the festival. And it's a non-stop festival, because we'd be down there at 10 o'clock in the morning, and we'd be finishing at 11 o'clock at night, with just program after program after program of shorts and international features. So yeah, I suppose even between the International Film Festival and the monthly screenings, I suppose you could be coming up to close to 5,000 films that we've screened over the past 12 years. So yeah, it's just non-stop. But we made some brilliant friends within the industry over the years. And because we study the film so much, because we're watching every aspect of it, we're not just watching the acting, we're watching the cinematography, we're listening to the sound, we're watching the acting, we're looking at the production values. People are actually able to contact us and to say, look, Dave, can you recommend a good, production designer, or could you recommend a good hair makeup guy or girl? So we're able to pass on recommendations from the work that we've seen, and we'll always try and pick the best. And
yeah.
we also follow a lot of the directors over the years. If there are directors that catch our eye, we're particularly keen on watching them bloom. So we'd watch their career as they progress. Like a great one to pick there would be Paddy Slattery.
Oh yes, yeah.
Well, Paddy sent in his very first film into us. Paddy's from Offaly, and he sent a film into us called Out of Tune. And it was a long, short film. Like as a programmer for a film festival, everything's all about time. You're trying to fit everything into a 1.5 hour or 2 hour program. So when somebody sends you a film that's about 35 minutes long or 40 minutes long, that's difficult, because you're probably taking up you probably get 2 films in there, for 35 minutes. But Paddy sent in his film Out of Tune, and I think it was around the 35-minute mark, which was long. And it was the story of a young musician who is very talented, but he's had a couple of he has an issue, or he's relationship issues with his girlfriend, and he goes onto an Irish show that's very similar to the X Factor, but it was 35 minutes long, which is very long for a short film. But we saw that there was something, that the film had something, so we felt that it deserved to have a screening, and we selected it. So we'd send an email to Paddy, and he contacted me to say he was delighted he was selected, and he said to me, did you know I was in a wheelchair? And I said no, and I said it doesn't really matter, we're looking at the content of the film, we're not interested in anything else. So but the fact that he said it to me made me, I got interested. So I Googled him, and I did a bit of research on him, and I found that he had been in an awful traffic accident years ago. And I just said to myself, God, like trying to make a film with, in a wheelchair it's very difficult, So when he came down, we were delighted, and we did a Q&A session with him. And since then, we've been screening an awful lot of his work. So his next film then was another short film called The Moment.
Right.
And the difference from Out of Tune to the next film, The Moment, was incredible. So all of a sudden, you could see that The Moment is set in the hospital, and it's a dying man, and he's listening to the All-Ireland final, and it's his team. are playing the match, and his wife is by his side, and they're very close-up shots. The close-up shot of him breathing. There's a lot of you can see a lot of hands. You don't see his wife's face. You just see the hands holding his hands. You can see the lighting is superb in it. You know where the man is lying, and you can see the curtain, the hospital curtain around the bed, sort of gently waving as the match progresses, and his team wins the match, and he lets go. And it was an incredible piece of filmmaking. It really was, but it was so different to what he did before. But the cinematography was superb. The score was brilliant. The sound was incredible. The direction really good. The cast that he picked, even the person with that you just saw the hands, was superb. The old man was the right age. He looked really good. And it was all done in about, I think it was about 6 minutes. And he had learned, it was from the time he had started Out of Tune at Underground Cinema, and he listened. He was a listener. So he listened to all the other filmmakers on that night talk about how they made their films and what they did. And Paddy became he was like a sponge. He was taking everything in.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, when he made a second film, then you could see everything that he had learned and listened to at Underground Cinema, and lots of other things as well. It's not just that we can't take credit for it. Poured out in that screen in that short film called The Moment. And then from there on, he made incredible short films. He partnered up with a brilliant actor, Tristan Henry.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, and they seem to have struck a fantastic relationship. You know, they're like the A-team. Tristan's a fantastic writer, you know, and I think he's very similar to Paddy in storytelling.
Yeah.
And so they worked on a lot of collaborations, and then eventually they worked together. And like as I said, I'd been great friends with Paddy over the years, and he had always had this feature film in mind. And I suggested to him back in the day, 12 years ago, actually, that what he should do is similar to what we do in theatre. What we do in theatre is, you know, when you're writing a new play, you'd get a lot of people together in the room, and you'd sit down and you'd read the play. So you'd get a lot of actors around the room taking the various different parts. And that's a great way for a writer to say, right, that's not working. That scene's definitely not working there. It's too long, or, you know, that character needs a little bit more exploring, or, you know, this, the arc of the storyline, it's too confusing. So it's a brilliant way to find out if your script is working. So I put together a cast of actors for him that I knew, and some of the actors that had been you know, in some of the films in Underground Cinema, and we got a really good team together. And I got a rehearsal. I got a photo studio in Dunleary Shopping Centre, a black room. A friend of mine owned the studio, and he emptied it for me. And we sat around. We did a reading of the script for him there, and it was a fantastic help for him, because that script actually then became his feature film, Broken Law.
Yeah.
It had a couple of different titles before that. So he'd gone from, I would say, very amateur filmmaker with a lot of potential with that short film, Out of Tune, to 12 years later, his own feature film, Broken Law, and it becomes an IFTA-nominated film as well, ends up getting the distribution deal. And it's a fantastic story of a young indie filmmaker who's had it tougher than an awful lot of other people. And we decided to give him an award 2 years ago. It was called the John Boorman Special Achievement Award. Now, John Boorman made films against the odds, and we felt that, and we'd met John as well, and he's just a really nice guy. And we decided to create this award, the John Boorman Special Achievement Award. So we decided to give it to Paddy. Now, normally you give a special achievement award to somebody at the end of the career, you know, big award like that. The John Boorman Award, we decided to give it to somebody in the middle of their career, and the idea behind that was to give them the recognition that they deserve, that they've beaten a lot of the odds to make, you know, an award-winning independent feature or short film. But the world of independent filmmaking can be an awful lonely place, and sometimes people doubt themselves on whether they made the right move to go into filmmaking, and in some cases they could give it up because it is so hard, and a lot of it's sometimes a lot of it's luck. You got to be in the right place.
You must see a lot of first-time filmmakers that don't continue on in that line of work, do you?
Yeah. We've seen, so as I mentioned earlier on, Vinny, we keep an eye on filmmakers that sort of we feel that have an awful lot of potential, so we keep an eye on them. You know, we're very keen. We go onto Facebook, like Film Network Ireland, to see what's going on, who's making what. So we're very active like that, and that's what the John Byrne Award was. We gave it to Paddy to basically keep him going, to basically say, you're doing a fantastic job. We are awarding you this award, and it sort of picks you up and it makes you want to keep going. And we've done that now twice. We did it with another brilliant filmmaker, producer, Cormac Fox from Vico Films, who's produced some fantastic films over the years. And it's in recognition of his services, and it's just a message to him: keep going, keep producing the work, you know. So unfortunately, we've seen some filmmakers over the years, Vinny, that have and actors. A lot. There's probably more actors do it than you know, directors or storytellers or writers. And you probably can see why, because acting in Ireland is such a tough game to, you know, to get a break. It's so hard, and you can be doing a million short films and get no pay whatsoever, and you just, you know, you gotta live, you gotta pay the bills, and eventually, you might want to get married, start a family, and it's all about money at the end of the day. And if you're not making it, it's funny you should say that, Vinny, because yesterday an actor contacted us that we used to deal with about 12 years ago, and we're terribly fond of him, and he dropped out of the game there just recently. And funny enough, he contacted us last night to ask how everybody was, and to tell us that he's got a really good job now, and things are going great for him, but his first passion will always be acting.
You
know, so it's hard. Like when I was acting myself, like I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I was non-stop, but it wasn't paying the bills. And then one day I was doing a show in Bewley, an afternoon lunchtime show. I was doing a Sean O'Casey play, Bedtime Story, with a friend of mine, Paul Ward. And the casting agent, Leo Davis, came in to have our lunch, soup and sandwich. And the next day I got a phone call from Leo Davis asking me to go for an interview with Stephen Frears. He was directing The Van. And, she had me down to play the mechanic in The Van. She had me down on a notebook as man behaving badly, because I played a bit of a rogue in this play that she saw. And I came in and Stephen Frears said, no. He's too good looking. He's too good looking to be a mechanic, he said. He could be the girlfriend. I took that as a great compliment. I played the girlfriend, Nellie Conroy's boyfriend in. But that's a classic case of being in the right place at the right time. I would have never got into The Van, you know. Only Leo Davis came in and had a soup and sandwich. So an awful lot of it's luck. So actors just, you know, some of them get that lucky break. And Emmett Scanlon is probably a fantastic example of it, you know. Emmett, I knew Emmett going back to the early 90s, 1991. Emmett was an up-and-coming actor in the Dublin scene. I contacted him a couple of times about plays and stuff, and he was enormously ambitious, you know. And I knew there was something magical about him, you know. And he worked a bit with Jason Figgis. He did a film called Three Crosses. And it really, like he's a fit guy, works out, so he looks good on the big screen, pushes himself to the absolute limit. And then Terry McMahon picked him up.
Terry.
And he ended up in Charlie Casanova, in the lead role in Charlie Casanova. And that was Emmett's, I suppose, Emmett's breakthrough film. Then he ends up going to the UK. He's in Hollyoaks for 1 or 2 seasons. He's got a lot of work in the UK. I think Emmett's living around the Liverpool or Chester area because that's where Hollyoaks was shot.
That's right, yeah. He's
doing really well for himself. Again, it's just that breakthrough film he needed. Charlie Casanova did that. There the publicity machine behind Charlie Casanova was huge. The indie scene, the indie filmmakers got behind that film because it was a film that was made against all odds. It was made in a short amount of time in freezing winter with next to no equipment. Over, I think Terry shot it over, he'll correct me if I'm wrong, but it's something like 12 or 15 days, which is a really, really short time for a feature film.
Yeah.
But the whole world came on board for him to make the film, and we were delighted to screen the film. I think that was our second film festival. We were delighted to screen it.
Yeah.
He unfortunately then he had Donald Clark from the Irish Times gave him a hard time and it killed it on him, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, indie filmmaking it's a tough game.
What are the major changes, Dave, you would have seen, say, since that actor was telling you from they were doing a short film and then you decided that you were going to set up a film festival to the point you're at now? What is the massive change you've seen in independent filmmaking? Is it the volume of independent filmmakers, or is it the experimentation into genre, subgenre, whatever it is?
Yeah, I tell you what it is. It's the technology that's available to them now. So back 12 years ago, you needed to get an editor to work on your film. So you more than likely would have to go into Filmbase and into Dublin City Centre to get an edit suite, which was expensive, and to sit down and edit the film. Now people are doing it in their bedrooms. You know, they're doing it at home, and the technology is getting so good. I was talking to a fantastic filmmaker. His name is Noel Brady. Noel submitted his first film to us back 12 years ago, and it was a brilliant film called Duality, and it was the very first film that we screened at Underground Cinema. And again, Noel was a filmmaker that we felt that had huge potential. So we've been following Noel over the years, and we've worked with Noel on commercial videos and stuff as well. But he came down to the film festival this year and he had 2 short films in there. But he told us that in one of the scenes in one of his short films, I think it might have been I Got Your Letter, John Bauer. He told us, did you know there was a scene in an attic, and he said, did you notice that there was a skylight in the attic, and he said, did you notice the dust flying around in the room? And I said, yeah, sort of saw it. He said, that's all CGI. He said, it's just something I've learned to do in the edit suite. It's none of it's real. He said, I can make the dust go left, go right. I can make it go up and down or swirl around. And that's how far the technology's gone. And he's an indie filmmaker. He's not, doesn't work for Marvel and has access to, you know, a mountain of incredible edit suites. He's doing that at home on his own computer. So that's how far technology's gone. So filmmakers now can edit really, really well. It's sharp, sort of snappy edits at that, and also because a lot of these filmmakers, they love going to the cinema themselves, so they'd be watching some, you know, the mainstream films, and they'd be like I said about Paddy, like being a sponge. They absorb everything, and then they try and do it themselves. So the standard of the filmmaking is extremely high. You get a really good director, has a really good vision, get a really good DP that works well with the director, and that's really important. And then an editor that's not afraid to chop and change and make the film look pretty cool and sexy. And that's what I'm seeing now at the moment. That's a big change now compared to 12 years ago. Just the quality. They all have to up their game, Vinny. This is the thing, you know, it's got very competitive now. So each of these filmmakers has to up their game, and they have to be better every film they make.
Regards and say, right, we were saying there, say 12 years ago, which was 2009 to 2021. Before that, when you go back as far as say Jason Figgis and Emma Scanlon, what's the massive change? Like, what was the hurdles that those boys faced? Because they're the old guard now. I remember their names very early on when I went to my film course in Derry back in the early noughties. Those names, Jason Figgis certainly came up. What were the hurdles that they met? How hard was it for them, Dave? Can you tell us?
Yeah, it would have been, no, you picked a filmmaker there, Jason Figgis, who could do everything. He's a very talented man, so he can direct and he can edit and he can do sound. And when you watch a Jason Figgis film and look at the credits, he's doing practically everything. And his brother Johnny Figgis as well worked with him as well. But money is the biggest problem. To try and there was no crowdfunded campaigns back then.
Yeah.
They were more than likely financing the films themselves. So they were beg, borrow, and stealing, doing table quizzes, to get money together. So it is all about the money, even though the actors may say they'll do it for free to get content for their show reel. You still got to feed them. You can't take advantage of people. So it does cost. It costs a lot more money then than it would be now to make a film, and you're working around people's schedules as well. Like if an actor is doing it for nothing, you might have a day job, and you, so in an ideal world, you'd like to go off on a film shoot for 15 days and shoot a film with the actor. He's not going to disappear on you. Back then, you're working around everybody's schedule, so it could take 2 months or 3 months or a year, to make a film, because everybody's doing it for nothing. So you're sort of working around everyone's schedule. If it's a big crew, you could be looking at a film that's going to be 2 years in the making, So that was the problem back then. Plus, the Irish Film Board back then wouldn't have been as active as they are now. So there wouldn't have been as many, grants available to them. So at least the Irish Film Board are very, very active now at the moment, or Screen Ireland, as they're called now.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of grants. There's development funding. Screen Ireland have put in place a lot of programs to teach and to educate. That wouldn't have been around back then so much as it is now. And again, social media, there was no social media really back around 12 years ago. Well, there was, but not on the scale that we have it now at the moment. So Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of those are important elements to finding the right people. You can put a tweet out, or you can do it on Facebook, and all of a sudden you'll have a load of CVs coming through your inbox. So the social media and the things is a big help when it comes to making films and promoting your own film as well. So 12 years ago, people are still using Facebook, and they're dab hands at it, and they know how to manipulate it and use it really well. And it's the same with Twitter and any of the other social media platforms. And people create back then as well. Like people creating a website would have been a bit on the expensive side. So now it's not that dear to create your own website.
Yeah.
So they're all the sort of the little differences I've seen over the past 12 years.
Before the Underground Film Festival, what was there for independent filmmakers? Nothing is basically what you're saying.
There wasn't a place to showcase the films. No, so the only place where the films were being showcased were at the film festivals themselves. So and it was hard to get into some of the film festivals as well. So if you like Galway, if you look at the Galway flag now, that's changed an awful lot over the past 20 odd years. Let's go back 12 years ago. When I used to go down to Galway every year. 12 years ago in Galway, some of the films that we screened would be up on the big screen, so we'd be in the town hall and we'd see them there, which was fantastic. But over the years, it's become more and more difficult to get the films into Galway. So if you're an indie filmmaker, you submit it to Galway. If you get selected in Galway, that's a fantastic achievement. But it's it's a very difficult film festival to get into. Mm-hmm. An awful lot of the shorts that are screened down there are funded films. In the main, so the indie films don't really, the indie low budget films don't really make it there and end up in all the other film festivals around Ireland. Right. So back then there was no place to showcase your work, and that was the reason we set the whole thing up, because there was just no There was no platform at all to show your work, to talk about your work, and explain why you want to keep working in this business. And that's the reason why we're still here.
Do you feel that maybe Irish filmmakers are too focused on Irish film festivals? I mean, has there been a move towards to get screened internationally and to work towards that, or do independent filmmakers here just kind of go, well, goal was the aim, that's the way I'm going?
Some of them, not all of them. The clever ones don't. They look at the bigger picture. Look, not getting into the Galway is not the be all and the end all, to be honest with you. I mean, it's great to get in, and it's a very prestigious festival, but just because you didn't get into Galway doesn't mean that the film isn't good.
Yeah.
There could be a number of reasons why I didn't get into Galway. It could be the length of the film as well. Like I mentioned it earlier, when you start going into 20, 25 minutes, that's a problem for Whale down in Galway.
Yeah.
He's got a big, his remit is to get a really good selection of independent Irish and international feature films together. And if he's getting 35 and 45-minute shorts into him, that's eaten into his program. He can't use them. Yeah. And he's reluctantly, I would imagine, Will is probably turning down stuff that he'd love to be screening in Galway. Yeah. So, but there were two online platforms. There was an online platform years ago called Without a Box. We used to go online to submit your film to film festivals all over the world through this platform called Without a Box.
Yeah.
So you would go in, you would have to pay a subscription fee to join it. It'll give you access to film festivals all over the world. And if you get, so you would make your application to say, let's just say South by Southwest Film Festival in Texas, which is a very prestigious film festival. So you could submit your film to that film festival via Without a Box, and you'd pay a submission fee to the South by Southwest Film Festival. So Without a Box gave you access to the world. The only problem with Without a Box is it was the most cumbersome system developed. It was very, very difficult. You nearly need a degree to operate the thing. It was so complicated. And you didn't know whether your film went through, the file went through. You didn't know whether you got through to a film festival. It was an awful system. So a company in America came up with a new platform called Film Freeway. I think that's revolutionized the entire film festival scene, both for the filmmaker themselves and for the film festival team, because it is just an incredible platform. So we use it, and we've been using it for years. So let's just take our monthly screenings. I'm sort of going off the international thing, but it does have a connection. The monthly screenings, we get the films into us via Film Freeway. So a filmmaker goes onto their Film Freeway account. They can upload the film to their account. They can create a director statement, a cover letter if they want. They can put down a list of the cast and crew, the credits. They can give a good synopsis. They can put their really good poster on it, and that's their submission to the festival. As the festival team, we can see the poster, which we like to see. We hate posters that are screen grabs and with a title emblazoned over the screen grab. I hate them. We love the posters that people put a bit of work and thought into it, because once they see it, they say, oh, they put a bit of thought into the poster. Let's have a look at the film now. I'll go straight onto the film now to watch it. We can Film Freeway for the film festival team is great because we can assign judges to various different films, and the judges can be anywhere in the world, which is what we do. We've judges like in Vietnam, and we've got them in the UK and America, So it's their job to watch those films in their entirety and then come back to me with their thoughts on whether it should be selected or not. And that's all done via Film Freeway.
Wow.
So we can pick up absolutely everything in the Film Freeway site, my site. I can go on and see what judge thought of that particular film, whether it should be screened or not. And it's just a fantastic tool. Not only that, it automatically sends letters out to the submitters to say their film has been accepted, or if it's not been accepted, it'll explain why it's not being accepted. It gives them their laurels, their festival laurels.
Right, yeah, important.
It's the film festival from start to finish. Everything that you need is in there for both the filmmaker and the film festival team. So to go back to your first question about are filmmakers reaching out to a broader film festival base? Yes, they are, and they're doing it through Film Freeway. Because Film Freeway will also have a list of all the film festivals that are coming up now at the moment, a full list of them. They also have a page where they say, here's the top 20 indie film festivals at the moment, voted by indie film festival makers. So it's a fantastic spot. So yeah, they are. The only thing, Vinny, is again, it's about money. Yeah. Because submitting to a film festival can be expensive. So some film festivals, we try and keep it low to about, a tenner. Other film festivals, you could be paying 50 quid. Some of the bigger ones, you could be 100 quid, and you may not get accepted. That's the thing, so you've just blown 100 quid. Yeah. So you need, when you make a short film, you need to sort of put a budget aside to say, right, we're going to put 500 quid into this film for film festivals. Well, but again, go back to Noel Brady. Noel's great. If you look at his film, I got you a letter, John Bauer. Have a look at Noel's poster for his film, which is a really cool poster. But the amount of laurels that Noel has on his poster now at the moment from film festivals from all over the world, it's great. It's great to see it. So Noel's in the game long enough, so he's doing really well. And I think if you'd asked me that question 12 years ago, I would have said no. Hardly everybody's very focused in Ireland. No, now the good filmmakers are focused on the globe.
You got your own, the Underground Film Festival.
Yeah.
What alternatives does that offer, say, to the other festivals that are on in Ireland?
A great thing has happened there recently. If you look at the pandemic, Vinny,
yeah.
Well, something really cool happened during that. So we were screening last March in the Royal Marine Hotel, and then the announcement was made that the country was being locked down. And sure, we didn't know at the time what we had. We were all told it was going to be a couple of weeks, and next thing, a few years down the road, and we're only slowly coming out of it. So we had to make a decision. Do we stop the monthly screenings completely? Do we can the film festival, or maybe by September everything might be up and running again? But the more I was listening to the news, the more I felt that this is going to be with us for a while. There's no point in fooling ourselves. This is going to be with us for a while. So we made the decision to go online. In fairness, our website needed a complete revamp. So we rebuilt the website. We went to a different provider actually, and we went to a provider that we could make sure that that if we screen films online, that they were safe, secure, they couldn't be pirated, they couldn't be downloaded. So we went with a particular provider, and we haven't looked back. Now, what happened then was we started contacting filmmakers to tell them that we were going to continue everything online, and we sent word out around the world through Film Freeway, and all of a sudden the applications started flooding in again. So, but what we did this time was we did Q&As online. So it was something that we couldn't do with an international audience before on a monthly screening. So what we would do is on a Saturday morning, we would have what we call the online coffee morning, and we'll have one coming up very shortly. So at 11 o'clock in the morning, all the filmmakers that were involved that were going to have their work screened online came online for an hour with us, and they chatted about their films and what they did and what they're working on now in the future. So all of a sudden, we're talking to people in Singapore and Australia, New Zealand, Japan, and Russia, people that we would never get to chat to before. And all of a sudden, we're finding out they're having the exact same problems that the indie filmmakers in Ireland are having. Money, finding it hard to work around people's schedules. So we made a huge connection there with filmmakers from all over the world. And all of a sudden, we're in contact with them all the time. And when we look at the figures, we were able to keep a look at the online figures to see what they were like. We were blown away by the figures. The film festival last September had over 10,000 film views over a 3-day period. That's an enormous amount of watches. the Galway Fleadh over the 7 days, they had 43,000 last year, which is enormous. The film festivals in Ireland last year, Grania Humphreys from the Dublin International Film Festival contacted all the film programmers last year to arrange a Zoom meeting and to talk about the online experience. Funny enough, last year we were Underground Cinema were the first ones that were going online. So there were other film festivals were unsure the online experience, whether it was going to work or not. So we all met online. We put a report together for the group to explain how the festival went online, the amount of views, and if we had any problems or anything like that. And all of a sudden, the other film festivals started to make the decision to go online. So that group of programmers, we are still meeting once a month. That's every film festival in Ireland are now meeting once a month to discuss the film festivals, online, the online experience, how they work, and how we can help promote each other. And we're all working together as a team.
That's great.
Which is unheard of before, because film festivals can be competitive. You know, they want the best films before anybody else gets the film. Now they're all sort of working together, which I think is a fantastic thing. It's a very collaborative process. Grania Humphreys was on to me the other day asking me to do a Zoom call with everybody, all the filmmakers in Ireland now on the 24th. So that's one of the positives that's come out of this pandemic, Vinny. So I think what you'll see is now moving forward, certainly with us, will be a hybrid event, which is what we did in our last festival. So we hosted the festival there at the start of September and in the Royal Marine Hotel, and we were able to do 3 days of live screening, which was fantastic, to an audience with a reduced audience of 50. We didn't know if we were going to get many people down, to be honest with you, but we did. Yeah. And we great houses over the 3 days. And also, we'd almost all of the films were available to watch online. So online, I think we had 126 films available to watch online over the weekend. So if you didn't want to come down, or if you felt unsafe, or if you were in another country, you could watch everything online. And then we had the live screenings then. So anybody that wants to come down and watch them live, they could. So it was fantastic. It was great to come back to a little bit of normality and feel that we're coming out of it. And it was great for people to sit in front of the big screen again, watch their film and everybody else's films, and then chat to each other in outside or in the bar or out in the grounds of the hotel. And it was fantastic. And I was delighted that we did do it. We did go ahead and didn't do everything completely online. Yeah. So I feel the future for us will be that we will be mixing online and live next year. That there's no doubt about it. I'm going to be doing that. And what I'll be doing next year is we will have Q&A sessions on the joint big screen with filmmakers from all over the world that can't make the film festival. They will all be on the big screens in Dunleary, looking directly at the audience sitting there, and they'll do their Q&As with a live audience. That's what we'll be doing next year.
Great stuff. That's fantastic, Dave. It's great to hear that it's coming back, and it sounds as if it's bigger and better again.
Yeah, I think everybody's become very clever. There's one thing about the Irish: we're very resilient. Yeah. You throw something really difficult at us, and we come out even better people. And I think that goes for every aspect of the arts. The arts has suffered an awful lot this year, but I more so than any other category, so to speak. And I think the arts are going to come out of this. I tell you what, you'll probably see next year is one thing that we have noticed is that filmmakers have a tendency to rush their films so they can get it. Again, let's just say take Galway, because it's the most prestigious one in Ireland. Yeah. You get people racing to get their films finished for Galway. And when you race a film in the edit suite, you can drop the ball. You can make mistakes, or the film isn't as good. What we've noticed this year is that a lot of people had their filming done in the can, and they were ready to go to the edit suite when the pandemic hit. So there was no race to get a film finished. So what was happening was the people were spending much more time in the edit suite getting the film right. So I could see it on the screen when we were getting the films in. I could see, God, that's really, really cool. They've spent an awful lot of time in the edit to get this film right.
I'm just looking here. You have another project as well, which is the outdoor cinema. How did that come about, Dave?
Yeah, I work for a company called Stenline in Dunleary, in the ferry terminal in Dunleary, and I'm involved I'm the freight manager for Stenline, and we had a high-speed ship in Dunleary, the HSS, operating there from 1996, and as the years went by, that ship became very expensive to operate. Fuel was very expensive on it. And the sailing times were dropping, and eventually the HSS was decommissioned. So she was taken out of Dunleary. So I don't know if you've ever been to the ferry terminal in Dunleary. It's huge.
Oh, I have, yeah.
So it holds an awful lot of cars. So I was looking out the window one day and I said, Jesus, this would be a great drive-in cinema. You know, it's enormous and it's not being used. So I contacted the Harbour Company in Dunleary to say, look, what do you think of the idea of putting a drive-in cinema in here? Would you be interested? So they said they were. So we came to an arrangement with them, and we made a big screen, and we found a spot in the terminal to put the screen, and we did a trial run of a drive-in cinema to see if it would work, and it did. So a couple of months later, we built an even bigger an even bigger screen. This time, the screen was on what we call a truss. It's a 33-foot by 33-foot truss. You'd see them at concerts where they would hold up sound equipment and LED screens. So we invested in that, and we put a big screen on it, and we made an application to the Broadcasting Authority of Ireland to get a license, because you need a license to broadcast over the car stereo, and we got the license, and we started the drive-in cinema in Dunleary. We ran there for 2 seasons, and then we decided to move it to Roundwood, up to the Vartry Reservoir up there, and then we brought it to, after that then we did a season in Kilkenny, down in Callan, where they have the car boot sale down there in Callan. But we gave it up. It's enormously, it's a very time-consuming operation. It's enormously expensive. It's the application process for the license is enormously difficult. It can take 3 months to get your application in, and there's an awful lot of red tape and bureaucracy. So I have been keeping an eye on various different outdoor ventures in the States, and I noticed, and in particular in the UK, I noticed that pop-up cinema was very big. So we invested in an outdoor movie screen. We bought it in America, and we had it shipped in, and we gave up the drive-in cinema, and we started pop-up cinema instead. And that was the best move we ever made, because at a drive-in cinema, you could have, say, 100 cars with an average of 3 people in a car. That's 300 people at a screening. That's a packed screening. At a pop-up screening that we're doing, we could do it up to 2,000 people in a park. So we could get more people together. An outdoor movie brings a lot of people together. We do it for everybody. We do it for organizations that are looking for, a festival in the local village, but we've also done them for residents associations. And we've seen, like, we did one for a residents association. We put the screen up, and we put the Goonies, I think it was, on for the people there. And they said, a fella came up to me and he said, this sort of thing has done in something incredible for us here. He said, do you see those 2 people over there? They're 2 neighbours that hate each other, and they're now sitting together having a glass of wine and shaking hands and laughing and joking. And that's what an outdoor movie does. It brings people together, and you just forget about your troubles, and you just enjoy a night under the stars, watching a movie under the stars. There's nothing better. So yeah, and then we've been doing that for about 5 years, and then last year, then we got hit with the pandemic. So that's put a stop to it completely. But we do know, look, it's not something that we were dependent on. It was just sort of a sideline thing. And next year, we're going to have events coming out at us left, right, and centre. You know, the whole world is looking to go to concerts and gigs and music, and so I see next year as the biggest outdoor event across the world, really.
Where do you get your energy from?
I'm one of these people that just I have to be doing something. I can't be sitting down doing nothing, and I'm always on the go. And yeah, even during the pandemic, I took up lamping. I started making lamps.
Really?
Yeah. I made a bottle. My father passed away just about a year and a half ago, and his favorite drink was a drink called Jameson Black Barrel.
Oh yeah.
And he loved it, and even right up until the end, he had a glass, you know. So I had an empty bottle of Black Barrel there, and I just got the idea to turn it into a lamp, you know. And what I was going to do was I was going to give the lamp to my mother as a present. She hasn't got the lamp yet. I'm giving it to her next month for her wedding anniversary. And what I did with the lamp was, what the bottle was, I didn't just put a light bulb and a shade on the top. I decorated the bottle with little things that would remind her of him. He was into bowls, so there's a little bowls ball on it. And there's just little bits on the lamp. So every time she looks at the lamp, she would get a memory of him. So I made the lamp, and I thought it looked fantastic. And I put the lamp on you know, one of these zero waste pages on Facebook. People throw out, you know, a cat or TV, or they don't want it. They're great pages, great for recycling as well. And I put that lamp up on one of those pages to say, look, if anybody's got any spirit bottles that they don't want, I'll take them and I'll turn them into lamps. Well, I was inundated with people offering me bottles. So I was driving around Bray for 2 weeks collecting bottles. But the other thing is now is people are actually looking for me to make the bottles because they like the story about my dad. So I'm now taking orders from people who want bottles, memory bottles made, you know, so they can give to their fathers or their mothers or their sons or their daughters. And it's just sort of taken off of me. So I'm in the middle of starting up a new website for these lamps. So yeah, I'm just always on the go, Vinny. A new idea comes to me every day, you know. And I have the family here driven demented with there's bottles everywhere at the moment.
Finally, I asked that question I want to ask all people who devote themselves to their craft. What makes you do it?
I'm extremely passionate about the arts, Vinny, and always have been. My family were very much. I mentioned earlier on that I was heavily involved with theatre. I got my whole family involved into it. So I got my mother on stage. She became a professional actress. My father worked front of house. My brother, he became a set designer. My other brother, he sold programs at all of our shows. It was a big family thing for us. And my extended family were heavily involved in the arts as well. I've the Keens and the Stole, and we've a great connection to the arts in Ireland, and I'm very, very passionate about it. And I saw filmmaking as a new form of a new art that was coming up, and I wanted to be involved in that. I wanted a piece of that, not so much as, and I have made films myself. You know, I made my own feature film, which was great, and got into the cinema. But I just love watching other people's work, you know, and I'm just very passionate about the Irish scene at the moment. And I really believe that we're a nation of storytellers. We're the best in the world. And, you know, that work really deserves an audience, you know, and I want that up on the big screen. I want it everywhere. I don't want these files sitting on somebody's computer doing nothing. They should be out there. The whole world should be able to see them, and we feel we're the guys to try and help do that.
And that concludes this episode of the Recluse's Cookbook. Thank you for listening.